the valley of Ayalon. And the Bible tells us about the battle, very famous battle of Joshua in the Ayalon valley. Okay, what happened is that Joshua is fighting the Canaanite. And the Israelites are winning, but the day is ending. And what is afraid? That under the cover of darkness, the Canaanite and the armies are going to split, run to the mountains, and that's it. He won't be able to get them again, all together. And he will have to start a process of a long, exhausting guerrilla war. It must be victory today. So Joshua is doing the unnatural. He's commanding the sun and the moon to stop in their position up in the sky. Okay? And that way, the day is long enough for him to battle, to win the battle. And over the years, many other fought over here. The Maccabees, one of the Maccabees' most important victories was over here. The king that they were fighting was leaving his army over here. He knew that the Maccabees hiding in the mountain. So he started to walk up the mountains to meet the Maccabees. But what they were doing, because they were smart and they were from here, they were sneaking down around in one of the canyons. And they went around him. He left over here his headquarters and his supply lines and the non-combat. And they took it all over, almost with no battle. And when he turned around to fight them, it was too late. Because he already lost his position, his power. So over the years, many people wanted to rule this place. And in the Roman period, there was a village over here, actually really nice one, that's called Emmaus, and later on Emmaus Nicopolis. And what is Emmaus? Emmaus come from the idea of bath houses. There were hot springs over here, and there was a beautiful Roman bath house, and this was a really nice location. It's amazing for agriculture. There are many springs, and among them hot springs. Those hot springs went dry in a big earthquake in the 8th century. Okay? And since then this place lost its glory. Let's read a little bit from the gospel about the miracle that happened in Emmaus. Do you remember when it happened? What happened over here? Do you remember?
2 disciples.
The 2 disciples saw him. So I'm reading from Luke 24:13. Okay, on the road to Emmaus. Now this is after the crucifixion and after the resurrection. Now that same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Yeshua himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. Okay, this is a question that it's not an easy question to ask. Why? There is a real concern. Okay, we just saw what's happened to the master. Okay, the disciples were afraid. If they're going to share those ideas, it may be that someone will tell the Romans and they will put on the cross as well. Okay? So they stop for a minute. They don't know exactly how to approach it, but eventually they must say the truth. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you only a visitor to Jerusalem and do not know the things that have happened there in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Yeshua of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in a word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is more, it is the 3rd day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but did not find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of an angel that say he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found that it was just as the women said, but him they did not see. He said to them, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophet have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. As they approached the village to which they were going, Yeshua acted as if he were going further. But they urged him strongly, stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over. So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. They asked each other, were not our heart burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us? They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. There they found the 11 and those with them assembled together and saying, it is true, the Lord has risen, and he appeared to Simon. Then the two told what happened on the way and how Yeshua was recognized by them when he broke the bread. Okay? I want to refer to several things. First of all, breaking the bread. Okay? We just talked about breaking the bread in Tabcha. How we prepare them. Okay? And how he was doing it. Now, he also broke the bread in the Last Supper. So we need to understand what's the importance of breaking the bread. And even today, in Judaism, when the Jews have a meal together, the most respected one, the one that normally care for the family, it may be the father or the grandfather of the family, he will be the one that bless over the bread and will hand the different pieces to the people. He will break the bread and hand the pieces to the people. Normally, it will be someone that you see and you trust and you recognize. And when someone takes this responsibility, it's like you are under his wings to be protected and fed and taken care of for. Okay? So this is the idea and the concept of breaking the bread. Okay? But I think more than that, what is the bread? Why do we eat bread? When is the first time in the Bible? When is the first time in the Bible that we read about the bread? First time in the Bible that we read the word bread.
Manna?
No, before the manna. Yes. It's really in the beginning of the Bible. It's before Abraham and Melchizedek. Guys, when we sin and we're driven out of the Garden of Eden, God tells us that you will need to sweat in order to eat the bread. This is the curse. Okay? This is the curse. You will eat bread with your sweat. You will have to do hard labor to eat the bread. Okay? So the bread was the symbol of our curse in the Garden of Eden. And what is Yeshua?
Bread of life.
It's the symbol, okay, of us overcoming the carnal sin. We were driven out of the Garden of Eden to eat bread, to sweat and work hard to provide, to eat bread. But with Yeshua, we're admitted back to the Garden of Eden. You see, there is a circle over here that's closed. Okay? And when Yeshua is breaking the bread, they recognize him. They recognize him, and they also recognize his teaching. And I told you when we've been to En-Gedi, we talked about how people were fast. Even today, some people are fast to say, we understand, we know, we recognize what God's will is. And many times people read the Bible or they think that they understand everything and they recognize what God wants from us. Okay? But we see over here that only with Yeshua teaching, they see the true meaning behind the word of the prophets. They will not fully understand them yet. Okay, where have we seen it? We've seen it in Mount Tabor. Okay, the transfiguration. That all of a sudden they see Yeshua speak to the prophets. Okay, and then they understand the true meaning of the word of the prophets. So, for many years, there was an argument about the exact location of Emmaus. Okay, because the text and the distance from Jerusalem was not very clear. Because it's the same day, and this is pretty far from Jerusalem. Today, it's basically recognized by everyone that this is the original Emmaus. And one of the best symbols is that the church over here is one of the oldest churches. Okay, so in a minute we'll be able to enter the church, and we're going to see the beautiful church, the Byzantine church, and that on top of it they built the Crusader church. Now the Crusader church was abandoned, and in the 19th century there was a Carmelite nun from Bethlehem that had a vision overnight that this is the real place of Emmaus. She arrived here and she bought the lands from the local Muslim population. In 1967, this is part of Jordan. In 1967, this is part of Jordan. And later on, this house was built over here. This is a church that tried to encourage coexistence over here. Very interesting. Try to encourage coexistence between Muslim, Jews and Christians in this area. Not too far from here, there is a unique community that try to do the same, where Jews and Arabs live together. Very, very rare. The only real community in Israel where Jews and Arabs live together. I will finish and say that when we leave here, we're going to drive that direction, and we're going to see another church up the hill. This is a monastery that was built on the other side of the road, very close to Emmaus. Okay, but to be a monastery and not to be a church, so it was pretty much a close community over there, but it's just on the other side of the road, and it's still operating the monastery over there. So let's enter the church and look a little bit